Hello, just getting people logged in here. Hello. I think we'll go ahead and get started this evening. Hopefully everyone's having a good week and things are going okay. You can find a comfortable seated position. Just taking a moment to allow yourself to feel grounded in the sit bones. And any time at the beginning when we kind of set our intention, if you want a pillow, a blanket, I've just pulled a meditation cushion that I happen to have. It can help just allowing yourself to kind of soften into the hips and really letting yourself get grounded into the sit bones. So taking a moment, maybe closing the eyes. Just letting yourself breathe in and out with a real natural breath. So we're not trying to manipulate the breath, doing a big ujjayi breath right now, but we are maybe slowing the breath down a little bit. And as you're focusing on a slightly longer inhale, a slightly longer exhale, you can remember the words from some of those guided breathing meditations. I'm breathing in, knowing that I'm breathing in. I'm breathing out, knowing that I'm breathing out. Those practices are things that you can learn in yoga class, but take with you anywhere. You can do them before a big meeting. You can do them before getting out of bed. You can do them in public transport, in the airport, anytime you feel the need. The nice thing about reminding yourself about your breath is it gives you a focal point. When you're feeling really stressed or low energy, it's too easy to think of the to-do list, or what I call the shoulds. And to me, it's kind of a swear word. You shouldn't should yourself. It's all the things that you know probably need to be done at some point. But if we start looking at that list, it gets to be really lengthy and it starts to feel like the weight of the world. And so how can you let that go? You can let that go by focusing on something you always have with you, and that's your breath. And sometimes it's not the heavy to-do list, but maybe it's just the feeling of low energy, a gloomy day. Reminding yourself of the breath reminds you, you do still have vitality, you do still have energy coming in. You can use the breath as a way to recharge and kind of feel more energized. So continue breathing in, focusing on the breath, dropping down into the body, taking that moment to tune in to yourself, asking yourself, what do you need? Why are you showing up on the mat today? What are you hoping to gain? From that place, holding that intention, inhaling the hands up and overhead, exhaling the hands down. You could start adding an Ujjayi breath here if you wanted to. I did film a really short Ujjayi breath video. I'll send it out this evening with this, the link to this class as well. Thinking about moving the hands with the breath. Full lungs means hands are toward the ceiling. Empty lungs, hands all the way down. And the next one on the inhale, we're going to stay up for just a moment. Right hand comes behind you, exhale, taking a slight twist. You have a couple of options. You could put some pressure into the front of the leg. Another option would be to think about inhaling through the chest, lengthening. Taking a few breaths here. Inhale, coming back through neutral. Exhaling. Thinking about finding a slightly deeper twist on the exhale. Rising through the crown of the head on the inhale. And coming back to neutral. Transitioning into tabletop. Fingers spread wide, knees about a hip width distance apart. We're going to move through our cat-cow, then we're going to add something that I don't think we've done yet in this May 4-week session. So exhale, finding cat. Inhale, chest lowers, tailbone comes up, finding cow. Exhale, tucking the tailbone in, navel to spine, chin to chest. And inhaling, finding cow. Exhale, we're going to add something new. So we're going to do something like a knee to nose pose. It doesn't mean your knee actually has to go anywhere near your nose. Just gives you an idea of the direction. So exhale, rounding the spine like you're going into cat. Shift your weight to the left side so the right leg comes up. Thinking almost like you're doing a crunch. So your abs are in strong. Lifting that knee to wherever you're feeling comfortable. So I could just lift the knee a little, crunch in, I could lift any more. As I lift any more, I can also bring the head down. And we're gonna send it back. So more of a straight back, not so much a cow back, but the cow back is a little awkward because of the hip here. So it's hard to like drop the low back when you're extending. Exhale, climbing cat. Without lowering the knee, unless you need to. You always can just kind of balance yourself out. If you don't need to, bring it right through. Round spine. And bringing that knee, same knee, to where it feels comfortable. You should feel a nice stretch through the mid back, low back, but also like your abdominals are working. The intensity is up to you. Exhaling, we're breathing through that, so not holding your breath. Exhaling back and inhale, flat back. Breathing here, lengthening. One more. Bending the knee, exhale, tailbone tucks, navel in strong, head might tuck, knee to nose. And one more time back. Squeezing the glute on the way back. And just bend that knee, exhaling it down. Setting up a nice solid tabletop. Exhaling through the start of your cat pose, shifting all of the weight into the other leg. Left leg comes in. Again, breathing through this position. Contraction at the abdominals is up to you. You should not feel any back pain. Inhale, leg comes back. Working the glute, extending through the extended leg. If this is not comfortable, you can always anchor a foot to the floor. Or if it's comfortable, but you're feeling low energy, this isn't cheating. Your practice is yours and you get to choose. So if you want to go, you're feeling really high energy, you could lift that leg higher. You could squeeze into the glute more. And knee, exhale, coming through, knee to nose. Extending the leg back. Arms are active. We're not just kind of hanging loose here. You're really pushing that ground away from you, activating the back of the shoulders here. Again, any wrist issues, you could always do a fist here to protect the wrist. And exhaling it through. Drawing the navel to the spine, tailbone tucks, chin tucks. And one last time, extending it back. And bend the knee, lower it down. The next one is going to be similar, but not quite as much of the cat-cow foundation that we've used in the past. I'm going to show it from the side, and then we'll see if I need to rotate. For this one, it's almost like the idea of the traditional workout pose that's called relatively, embarrassingly enough, a fire hydrant, where you lift the leg, it's bent at a 90-degree angle, lift that leg up, and then we're going to take that knee to the elbow. So really a crunch through the obliques. The amount of crunch, if you're feeling like hip flexors kicking in or glutes are kicking in and it feels like a pinch, do less. The knee doesn't need to touch the elbow, just the intention is there. Keeping the gaze towards the ground, we're going to lower, and the other side. Fire hydrant, and then knee to elbow. Again, crunch at the obliques. Exhale down. Inhaling up. Exhale to the crunch. Inhale through. Exhale down. Other side. Inhale up. Exhale, knee towards elbow. Inhale and exhale. Okay, so now we're going to add some of that movement all together. We're going to kind of flow through it. So to do that, we're going to have a really round spine with our cat pose. We're going to exhale the knee in. We're going to send the knee out. We're going to exhale the knee side, whatever level you're comfortable. We're going to send the knee out. Okay, so that's what we'll do. We'll do a couple of those on each side. Thinking about your breath, thinking about your mobility, feeling what muscles are tight, feeling what muscles are working. Exhaling, knee comes in strong, but don't hold it. We're going to send it right back, kind of like we're dancing. Exhaling, knee to the side, maybe bringing the head now kind of over toward that side. Inhaling it back. Exhaling, same leg through, knee to elbow. Inhaling it back. Exhaling to the side. Inhaling it back one last time. Inhale through, knee to nose. Sending it back. Exhale, knee to outer elbow and back. Lengthen here, holding just for a second, and exhaling that leg down. And the other side. Exhale, finding that knee to nose. And right back, not holding, but kind of dancing through these. Extension, knee to elbow. Extension, knee to nose. Extension, knee to elbow. Send it back. And round through, knee to nose. Send it back, knee to elbow. Send it back and lower it down. All right, find a seated position, any seated position. That was a lot of time on the wrists. We're going to put the hands in prayer pose, but soft, so not flat fingers, but interlocked fingers. And then we're just going to go kind of making a little wave, release the wrists. And from here, coming up to the knees. We're going to work into camel pose or the prep to camel. And I'm going to show this one from the side for camel. think about going up to go back. So I say that because I think a lot of people see a full camel and they think it's to go down. And if you focus on the down, it's a lot of like jamming the lumbar spine together. What I want you to do is have hands on the hips. We're not going to be worried about a full camel where you have hands down here. If that's where you are at in your practice, go for it. But if you're not, don't worry. Keeping the hands on the hips, fingers forward, elbows back. So like your elbows are like little wings, chest to the ceiling. So we're going up to go back. That's your prep to camel. If you wanted to take it further, you have a couple of options. You could play around with what feels better. Do I like it if I drop my head? You can drop your head, see if you're comfortable with that. The other option, do I like it if I hinge back or I hinge at the knees and just send the hips back a little bit? That's where you eventually would go, okay? And then coming out. So making sure you do a little and then you come out. The problem with camel is sometimes we push it too far and we're fine down here. It's the getting out that's really scary and sometimes causing injury. So as you're working on it, chest towards the ceiling. What happens if I drop my head and then bringing it back out? What happens if I shift my weight back a little and then bringing it back out? So those are our preps to kind of get ready for a full, safe camel. All right, moving through your tabletop into downward dog, pedaling out the feet. Taking a couple of breaths in downward dog. Looking to the top of your mat, walking your feet forward. Hands come to the shins, lifting up halfway. Ardha Uttanasana, flat back. Exhale, exaggerate the bend in the knees. Holding forward, grab the elbows. And from an overly bent knee, allowing the full fold to come from the hips, and then you can start to straighten the legs slightly. And releasing the hands to the shins again, coming up halfway. And one more time, big forward fold, grab the elbows, exaggerate the knee bend. So really exaggerate, like you could rest the rib cage on the top of the thighs. And the fold is coming from the hip bones. It's not coming from the low back. And as you start to shift more weight into the feet, the legs may start to straighten slightly. Exhaling the hands, this time bringing them all the way up, flat back, and then hands out, hands overhead, upward salute, Urdhva Hastasana. Look to the hands, and exhaling them down. And move through a simple sun salutation here, inhaling hands up and overhead. Exhale, folding forward. Inhale, lifting up halfway. Exhale, plant the hands, coming down to tabletop or right into your plank pose. Lowering the knees, lowering through Chaturanga Dandasana. Elbows graze the waist or the rib cage. Inhaling through low cobra, shoulders are back, only lifting to the extent that it feels comfortable. Inhale. Exhale. Transition through tabletop or right into downward dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. If you're modifying, you could take puppy pose here, or you could take child's pose. In downward dog, you have some options. You could stay in downward dog. You could do three-legged dog, lifting one leg. And you could do more of an open three-legged dog with a bent knee. Or you could take downward dog for part of the time and then drop down into child's pose. Inhale, looking towards the fingers, walking the feet forward. Hands come to the shins, lifting up halfway, Ardha Uttanasana. Half lift. Exhale, Uttanasana, full forward fold. Allowing the hands to fall or reaching for the elbows, whichever you prefer. Inhale, hands out like an airplane wing and flipping the palms toward the ceiling, coming back to upward salute or Uttanasana. Exhaling, hands down. We'll do another sun salutation. We're going to add in warrior two partway through. Grounding into your mountain pose, Tadasana, knees lifted, chest lifted. Inhaling, hands up and overhead. Exhale, full forward fold. Inhale, lifting up halfway. Exhale, planting the hands, walking the feet back. Plank pose. Lowering the knees. Chaturanga from the knees. Inhale through Bhujangasana, low cobra. Exhale through tabletop or right into downward dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Before moving into our warrior pose, shifting all the weight into the left hand, reach the right hand toward the foot. Hand does not have to touch the ankle, but just reach it toward the opposite leg. Core is engaged. Taking a little twist here through this down dog. And bring that hand back, shift all the way into that side. And reach for the opposite hand, opposite ankle, opposite shin with the left. Show for the side view as well. Downward dog and then reach. Coming back to downward dog. Stepping forward, first looking at the hands, maybe bending the legs a little bit. We're going to step forward with the right leg. Front foot is facing the short edge of your mat. Back foot is fairly close to parallel to the short edge. Extending the hands. Grounding into Warrior Two, Virabhadrasana 2. Inhaling the hands, we're just going to cartwheel them to the floor. Then that back leg, rotate the foot first, not the knee. We're going to come through a vinyasa. So we have our knees down, lowering down, Chaturanga Dandasana, that tricep push-up. Elbows raise the waist, hover right over the floor, and then lower. Inhale, Bhujangasana. Exhale, transition through tabletop or right into downward dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Shifting weight into the right hand, left hand reaches toward the right leg. Again, slight twist. And bringing it back, shifting weight into that side and reach to the opposite side. Bringing both hands to the front. Take a moment in your downward dog. And then stepping, looking at the fingers, stepping forward. Opposite leg, rotate the back leg. About parallel to the back edge of your mat. Grounding through the feet, lengthening through the fingertips, gazing over the second finger. And inhale, cartwheeling the hands down. Rotate, pivoting on that back foot, lower the knee. Step through one last time, Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale, low cobra. Exhale, transition through tabletop or right into down dog. Taking a few breaths here, maybe pedaling out the feet, maybe lengthening just a little bit deeper. When you're ready, inhale to look at the fingers, walk the feet forward. Hands come to the shins, looking up halfway, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, full forward fold. Inhale, arms come up, overhead, upwards. Exhaling, hands to the sides, finding mountain pose. Taking a moment in mountain pose, really grounding into the feet. We're going to move into our tree pose, taking some time for some balances. Chest is lifted, abs are in, and shifting into the right leg. Hands can come out to help with counterbalance. You can have the rotation at the hip and keep the foot low. Or if you want to lift the leg and place it, you can. Hands can help with counterbalance. Hands can come to heart center. Or you can grow branches overhead. You can always play around with your tree if it's not feeling very challenging. You could add wind to the branches. The more wind, the harder it gets. Or you could try to remove your drishti by closing your eyes. And whenever you're ready, we're going to start to bring our tree down slowly and controlled. So as we bring that external rotation back in, lowering the leg with control, really using the low core, low abdominals, and finding mountain pose. Shifting weight to the left side, shifting the weight, but thinking about keeping the pelvis neutral. The weight shifts, but the hip doesn't pop. Core is in, chest is lifted. Taking the rotation at the hip, placing that wherever you are feeling comfortable today. Selecting your hand placement. And whenever you are ready, starting to come out of tree, again, bringing that rotation back in, maybe adding a micro bend to the supporting leg, but moving really slowly and controlled. Beautiful. Our next pose we're going to move into is Warrior One. I'm going to step forward with the right leg. Back leg angles just slightly between a 45 and 30-degree angle, just depending on how you're feeling. Front leg, knee is bent. I'll show it from the side as well. Back leg is fairly straight. The main difference of this pose compared to Warrior Two is the pelvis. Pelvis is facing forward. If that feels weird, move your feet around until it feels pretty comfortable. And don't worry about if this ankle, if the heel hits the floor or not. Extend the arms straight up overhead. Warrior One. Reaching through the arms, but also reaching through the back leg. And exhaling down, soften that back knee. We're going to keep both knees bent. Soften down and go up. Almost like a crescent lunge here, one more. Shift all the weight forward so you can lift the back leg and step it forward and place it. Beautiful. Finding your mountain pose. And we'll shift all the way into the left leg, stepping back with the right foot. Again, about a 30 to 45-degree angle with that back leg. It's not wide open like Warrior Two. This allows us to have our pelvis facing the short edge of our mat. Hands straight up overhead, reach to the hands, push back through the back leg. Gaze can be straight forward, or you could look up at the fingers. Exhale the hands down. Bend the back leg. Keep both knees bent. straighten. Bend them again, little crescent lunge here. Straighten, start to shift all the weight into this front leg. Back leg lifts, bring it in. Mountain pose. Right, our next pose we're going to go into is a prep to warrior 3. You have lots of options. You can go full on warrior 3 if you're feeling comfortable. If you're on carpet, it is a little bit more challenging, so don't be hard on yourself. Warrior 3 is a hard pose, and it uses muscles that we don't always use in the day-to-day things that we do. We're going to go into it from an extended upward salute. I'm going to show it from the side view. Putting a lot of pressure and weight into the hands, inhaling the hands up. Core is in strong. Shift weight into the right leg. Left leg starts to lift and goes behind you. The extent that your left leg goes behind is the same extent that your body goes forward, because you're like a little teeter-totter. You're going to pivot on that hip. If you're feeling a little shaky, add a micro bend into the supporting leg. It allows you, if you're feeling wobbly, that you can recover. A locked out knee is a little scarier. Pushing into the extended leg behind you and the hands. Wherever you feel comfortable, that's your warrior 3. You want to lift your legs, the extended leg, about the same amount that you lower the hands and the upper body. So I'll show what not to do. I lifted my leg just a little and then I dropped my whole upper body. That's not a very good warrior 3. So I could be high here, and that's nice. I could be really extended here, almost parallel to the floor. That's harder, especially on carpet. So you have lots of options here. Inhaling it up and out. Exhaling the hands down, finding your mountain pose. We'll set that up on the other side. Weight in the hands, extending toward the ceiling. Shift weight into the left leg, right leg comes behind you. Rotation or pivot point is at that pelvic hip bone. And bringing it up slowly and with control. Exhaling the hands down. We're going to take a sun salutation to get us down to the floor and do some floor work. Inhaling, hands up and overhead. Exhale, pitch the hands forward, sit back, chair pose. Inhaling up and then exhale, forward fold. Inhale, lifting halfway, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, plant the hands, walking down to the knees. 8-point pose. Collarbones come down to the mat, sit bones stay high. Exhale, slide through. Inhale, low cobra. Exhale, transition through tabletop into downward dog. Inhale to look to the fingers. We're going to just step the feet, and you have lots of options. You could come down to your knees, tabletop, and then sit. If you want kind of a fun way to transition though, you could Bring the knee towards the inside of the elbow and bring the other knee around. Finding a comfortable seated position. Easy seat, cross-legged seat, log pose. Take a moment getting grounded in to the sit bones. Chest is lifted. Hands on the knees. We're going to fold forward softly. And then draw in a half circle with the crown of the head from knee to knee. Lengthening through the back, into the hips, obliques. You can add some movements that you're not just drawing a perfect circle or half circle, but kind of dancing into it. So you could drop a shoulder as you go down. So it creates more like a spiral. Take whatever you need here. When you're ready, switching out the feet. So if you're in easy seat, whatever leg is in the front would be moved to the back. Cross-legged, whatever foot's on the bottom goes to the top. Take a moment getting grounded. Few breaths here. And then we'll repeat. Folding it forward, drawing that half circle, then adding whatever organic motion you need. When you're ready, coming back up to a seated position, move into east stretch. Fingers are going to be behind you. They're going to be pointing toward your sit bones. If you have a lot of wrist issues, you might want to avoid this one. Trying to think of a fist might work. You could try a fist. Extend the legs in front of you. Again, fingers are pointed toward the sit bone. I think if you have a lot of wrist issues, you could point the fingers away from the sit bones and you'd still be okay. That'd be the modified. Lifting the sit bones up and off the mat, dropping the head back. Bringing the head up first, lowering the sit bones all the way down, bend the knees. We're gonna lower down into our bridge pose. So for bridge pose, lowering all the way down, hands down by the sides of the hips. Rock the knees left to right. Allowing yourself to feel grounded in your mat. Face softening. And for a bridge pose, you'll start to inhale, lifting the sit bones. Thinking not just about making the glutes work, but about creating space. So a bridge pose is also considered a back bend. We're thinking about creating space through the mid-back. So while you can squeeze your glutes as much as you want, I'd squeeze them some for support. But you can also think about trying to fit one of those exercise balls under your body. So you're creating this real bridge shape with your whole body. Exhale, lowering it down. We'll do one more variation. Hands can stay exactly as they are, or you could clasp the hands and extend them under your body, or you could use the hands in a restorative pose to support the pelvis. So you have lots of options. Whenever you're ready, grounding into the feet, setting up whatever option you want to take today. And exhale, starting to come down. Lowering the sit bones all the way down, bringing the knees into the chest. Hugging the knees in, softening the low back, maybe rock left to right. You could stay right here with a rock, or if you'd like to try to take shoulder stand. For shoulder stand, you use just a little bit of momentum. Swing the legs toward the ceiling and support on the back of the hips with the hands. You'll notice feet can be kind of pitched more toward your head to help, so that this just feels like a natural restorative pose. Feet straight up makes this a little more work for the quads. Pitch more forward. It's more of a relaxing pose. You could take happy baby, or if you wanted to try plow pose, feet start to just drop more. Maybe even touching the ground. Maybe softening the knees. And then when you're ready to come out, think of like a cartwheel or somersault. Just roll it out. Taking whatever you need. Maybe a spinal twist, maybe happy baby. When you're ready, finding Shavasana, final resting pose, maybe covering with a blanket. Hands can be out away from the body, palms toward the ceiling. If you want to carve out just a few more minutes for yourself, closing out the external world, palms down, resting on the low belly. Low shoulders, soft breath, softening the muscles of the face, around the eyes, the jaw, even scanning all the way down to the feet. Allow your feet to just feel heavy, relaxed. As you rest on your mat, taking a moment to reflect back on the intention you set for yourself. You can always link an intention to a breathing practice. So if your intention today was to feel patient, or if your intention today was to feel strong, the next time you're feeling less than, you could add it to that guided breathing meditation. You could say to yourself, breathing in, I know that I'm breathing in. Breathing out, I know that I am breathing out. Breathing in, I acknowledge that I'm in this moment. Breathing out, I acknowledge that in this moment I am strong, patient, kind, calm, precious, loved. You can stay here as long as you want. If you're ready to move, you can wiggle your fingers, toes, bringing yourself back into the room. Whenever you're ready, rolling over onto the right side, using the right arm as a pillow. And staying in your relaxation or joining me in final closing. Thank you so much for joining me in practice. I hope you have a lovely rest of the week. Namaste. Thanks, everyone.